Welcome back, hosts. Have a great show.
Hello, Frank.
Hey Charles, how you doing?
How you doing?
Okay, all ready to go?
We're ready to go. About a minute and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, you sound a little better.
I do, just a bit.
Yeah, once you
Good
you
advice.
you start swallowing that honey on a regular basis, it will. What they just to give you a heads up, what the Romans used to do, and what the warriors used to do in the ancient times, they used to pack their wounds with honey.
I recall reading that. Yeah,
So something to think about, my friend. Okay,
there you go.
so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Pompeo slamming the folks, or am
How
I?
about the story that no one else is talking about?
What's that?
There was a resolution introduced into Congress by Andy Biggs, he's an Arizona Republican, to censure Adam Schiff for lying about the comments that Trump made. No one is covering the story.
Wow. Yeah, let's talk about
Yep. Okay.
it. And what's the congressman's name again?
Andy Biggs.
Andy
He's
Biggs.
from Arizona.
Andy Biggs. Well, Schiff is lying his behind off.
Say again?
I said Schiff is lying his behind off.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's getting worse now. It turns out he had the same types of conversations with the Ukrainian
Oh, no
government
question. Remember,
that
he got
he,
embarrassed. He thought it was the
yeah,
Russians. Yeah.
right, right.
And I mean, these people. It's like Joe Biden and this. What do you call it? These pictures, man. Oh, we're live. Well, hey, folks, welcome to the reality check with Charles Butler. You see what we talk about offline, and we'd kind of lost track of time, and we're just online chatting about what we're going to share with you. And Frank brought up an interesting point about a resolution that was put on the floor by Andy Biggs, representative from Arizona, to censure and Adam Schiff for lying about the Ukraine conversation that President Trump had with the Ukrainian president. It boggles my mind, Frank. It boggles my mind when they just blatantly make up things that the president is supposed to have said, and then when he did that thing that was supposed to be a parody, it wasn't a parody. He just got busted. People called him out on his lies. He was just blatantly lying on the president. It wasn't a parody.
Well, that's exactly right. But it's the modus operandi that's been going on since 2016. I covered the inauguration of Donald Trump live, and before the guy even got sworn in, there were people marching in the streets with signs saying, "Impeach Donald Trump." So this is not something based on any evidence or based on any revelation. This is a strategy that the Democrats have had since the election of 2016. They can't admit or they won't accept the fact that they lost, and they've looked for every possible way of overturning the results of what the people wanted in 2016. Now, the latest, of course, has been after Russian collusion fell apart and all the other stuff really went into the garbage hopper. The latest, of course, is that the president had a conversation with the Ukrainian president, his Ukrainian counterpart, in which he repeatedly asked about Joe Biden's uh, violation of federal law. The Code of Federal Regulations specifically prohibits a government official from using his position to enrich himself or his family. Now, Charles, we know that Hunter Biden, then Vice President Biden's son,
Hmm.
rode to China aboard Air Force Two with the vice president and came back with a $1 billion deal in his pocket in an
Right.
area he had absolutely no expertise or specialization in. We know also that Vice President Biden was the point man for the Obama administration in the Ukraine. And lo and behold, Hunter Biden comes back from visits to the Ukraine with big money deals in his pocket for no show jobs. Well, it seems to me inappropriate for the chief law enforcement officer in the United States, the commander in chief, the president, to ask his Ukrainian counterpart what's going on. Is this gentleman, the former vice president, violating federal law? Well, that would seem to be the story, the headline, but the media has decided to reject that story and instead, somehow or other, decide that the person who blew the whistle on Joe Biden is the perpetrator of a crime rather than the actual person who committed the crime. Charles, it's like if I knock over a 7-Eleven and you see me do it and you go tell the police, hey, I saw Frank Ferruccio knock over a 7-Eleven, they throw you in jail rather than me.
Yeah.
That's precisely what's going on. Now, the reason the Democrats feel so secure in doing this is they know the media is not acting like an objective journalistic outlet. They're basically an outlet for the Democratic Party. They are essentially a wing of the Democrat Party, so they have no fear in being exposed about the nonsense that they're trying to pull off.
Well, it's not nonsense because as Goebbels said, if you tell a lie loud enough and long enough, people will believe it, and that's what happens. People. I was talking to a friend yesterday, very intelligent woman, and she said, "Well, there is no quid pro quo, Charles, with Biden," and I'm going, "What do you mean? It's the quintessential." Quid pro quo. What Joe Biden said
Right.
is the definition of quid pro quo. If you don't fire the uh, uh, prosecutor, the top prosecutor on this investigating this this situation, you're not going to get the money. I'm going to you're not going I'm going to withhold the $1 billion, and I don't want to be like Adam Schiff, but and I'm paraphrasing, and so I want to state up front, I'm paraphrasing what Joe Biden said, but he said if you don't fire this prosecutor, and he's saying this. This is not Charles Butler saying this. This is Joe Biden saying this, and it's just blatant what Biden says, and nobody seems to want to point the finger at old Joe. But what let's listen to what Biden said, Frank. I think it's better to hear it from the horse's mouth. What do you think?
Perfect.
Okay, this is Biden and what he said at the Council of Foreign Affairs.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was 6 hours. I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Well, son of a bitch. Just guess. I mean, that guy got fired and we got the $1 billion loan. What is not quid pro quo about that?
Yeah, it doesn't get any more blatant than it. But the real story, again, here is not just another corrupt politician, even though it's all the way up to the level of vice president. The story here is the extraordinary cover up of the media, where a Democrat does something wrong, and it's the person who exposes the wrongdoing that becomes somehow the villain in the piece. That's the real story here. Look, clearly the media has become a partisan lapdog of the Democrats, but the extreme to which they have gone to in this matter really boggles the mind. You don't need to be an attorney to understand that the Code of Federal Regulations has numerous laws against abusing your position in the federal government for personal or family gain. It's clear. It's not a complicated issue at all. And yet, continuously, we see that entire fact utterly obscured.
But Adam Schiff, going back to Mr. Biggs' resolution, this is what Mr. Biggs' resolution is based on. Adam Schiff saying this as part of the record. Listen to this. This is just so outrageous. You have to listen to it.
Zelensky, eager to establish himself at home as a friend of the president of the most powerful nation on earth, had at least two objectives: get a meeting with the president and get more military help. And so what happened on that call? Zelensky begins by ingratiating himself, and he tries to enlist the support of the president. He expresses his interest in meeting with the president and says his country wants to acquire more weapons from us to defend itself. And what is the president's response? Well, it reads like a classic organized crime shakedown.
Ukraine is
shorn of its rambling character and in not so many words, this is the essence of what the president communicates. We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that, I'm going to put you in touch with people, and not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. And I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him, trust me. You know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked.
No, it's hilarious because nowhere in the transcript does any of this stuff appears. Not, I'm gonna only 7 times. There's no reciprocity. I don't see much reciprocity. None of this appears in this transcript. I have the transcript right here. None of it appears, Frank. And this man says it if it's a fact.
What's stunning is that the conversation we're having, which is based on the facts and which is actually using transcripts, has appeared nowhere in the major media, including, for the most part, Fox News. You would think that a resolution of censure, which is a pretty inflammatory thing, it's a pretty spectacular thing, would be headline news. But the press has ignored it, just as the press has ignored the actual facts of what went on, both with China and Ukraine and Vice President Biden, and the real discussion that took place between the Ukrainian president and President Trump. What we're seeing is spectacular. What we're seeing is a disrespect of the media for the intelligence of the American people. And this is not only a lie, Charles. This is a blatant lie. This is what we say here in New York, in your face lie. And it's absolutely astounding that there has been nowhere in most of the media that this has been discussed whatsoever. This takes the lies that we saw from the Steele dossier and the Russian collusion to a whole new level.
It does. And, the fact that Andy Biggs introduced this resolution on Friday, none of the pundits covered it over the weekend. It should have been major news. They say that, in this, and I've had an opportunity to read this since we talked about it. Mr. Biggs says that The whistleblower complaint and mounting scrutiny over Trump's efforts to push the Ukraine to investigate former President Joe Biden and his son were integral in the House Democrats' decision to move forward with a formal impeachment inquiry this week. So Biggs' measure asserts that Schiff's comments were an egregiously false and fabricated retelling that had no relation to the call itself. He's absolutely right, alleging those actions of the chairman misled the American people, bring disrepute upon the House of Representatives, and make a mockery, as you just pointed out, of the impeachment process and one of this chamber's most solemn constitutional duties. Mr. Biggs is absolutely right. He's not getting any coverage. He hasn't been invited to any shows.
Yeah, nothing whatsoever. And again, even the outlets that are considered somewhat conservative or at least moderate have pretty much ignored this as well, which is kind of fascinating. There is a narrative that goes on. Let's move this to something else just for a second. A couple of weeks ago, a young person, I think she's 16 years old, Greta Thunberg,
Yeah, that's
from
she.
Sweden,
She was
made a
hilarious.
speech at the UN. The young lady, and I don't mean to be cruel here, but obviously has a troubling obsession with this topic. It's not just an interest; it seems to be an obsession. When she talked about the planet going extinct because of global warming, well, at the same time that the press couldn't get enough of this 16-year-old, over 500 scientists wrote articles, wrote letters to UN and American officials saying, hold on a second here. A lot of what's being said about global warming, frankly, has no scientific backing whatsoever. A lot of it simply is completely scientifically inaccurate. Charles, those 500 experts and scientists, men and women reputed in their field, men
Mhm.
and women who have studied this for decades,
Mhm.
received virtually no coverage whatsoever. We have gotten to the point where an obsessed 16-year-old gets more coverage and more discussion than a panel or a group of 500 experts in their field. This is where we've been going in our general discourse as a country. Facts don't matter. Reality doesn't seem to matter. The bias and the prejudice on the part of the press, the intent to push one point of view, is so dramatic that they will take an uninformed 16-year-old obsessed young lady as gospel while ignoring the writings, research, and analysis of 500 experts in a particular field. Amazing.
You know what cracks me up, Frank, about these left wing zealots and about these judges who all of a sudden have a conscience. Where were they when Black Americans were being denied their citizenship? See, I've contended for years that there would have been no need for affirmative action, a civil rights movement, civil rights laws, if the federal government had enforced the Constitution for Black citizens. Here they are fighting battles and enforcing laws and making up laws and placing injunctions on policies that definitely affect Black Americans, illegal immigration. And they do it without any conscience. It's like, well, we need to welcome these poor people. What about your poor, uneducated Black Americans that are here? What about the fact that Rahm Emanuel in the city of Chicago closed schools in Black neighborhoods and built new schools for illegal children where illegal communities congregate? Built new schools. People should be burning this damn city down in just outraged that our tax dollars and raising tax dollars on law-abiding citizens, and the lie that they tell is that illegals pay taxes too. That's bullshit. They work off the books usually. And if they do pay taxes, they're paying at lower wages than you pay an American.
You bring up some great points. One of those issues that those of us who believe in a strict interpretation of the Constitution always point out is that once you start moving away from a strict interpretation of the Constitution, you're moving into very dangerous territory. Let's go back in time even before the Constitution, even before the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
When slaves were brought over from Africa, there was no law on the books justifying the existence of slavery. None whatsoever. But it didn't really matter because, hey, who cares about the law? We'll interpret it as we will just make it up as we go. When the Constitution was adopted in 1787, even though it spoke about certain people being only 3/5 of a citizen, there was nothing in the Constitution that authorized the existence of slavery.
That's true.
Let's move a little bit forward. Let's go to the 1850s. Now, we constantly hear from the media that the Democratic Party somehow is the party that is there for minorities. Really? Well, where were they in the 1850s when it was the Democratic Party that pushed and fought for the existence of slavery? Where was the Democratic Party? Well, we know where the Democratic Party was when they pushed for the existence of segregation, when they enacted gun control laws to make sure that freed blacks couldn't defend themselves from Quantrill and others who wanted to repress them and put them back in a condition of near slavery. Where is the Democratic Party in its support, for example, of open and abortion for all, when the fact is their hero, the hero of the pro-abortionist, is Margaret Sanger, who came up with abortion because she felt too many blacks were being born in the United States? You know, the media has pushed this unholy alliance with the Democratic Party and its racist tendencies nonstop. And yet, none of the so-called researchers in the mainstream media ever take 10 seconds to look at that.
Not one iota of coverage. Not one iota to speculate. The Democrat Party were the party of segregationists. Yet they blame Barry Goldwater, who fought for civil rights, who fought to desegregate units in the Air Force, who put his behind on the line for black people, where you had John Kennedy, who never, let me repeat, never, ever did anything for black constituents in the state of Massachusetts. In fact, he claimed he didn't know any when he met with Jackie Robinson. And Jackie Robinson said after their meeting, Mr. Senator Kennedy, you should have made it. You've been in public life long enough to have made it your business to get to know some black citizens, some Negro citizens. Because what he said to Jackie Robinson is, Mr. Robinson, I don't know many Negroes. Classic East Coast American aristocracy, privileged white boy jargon, right? Talking to the wrong bro.
That's exactly right. And in fact, when the issue of housing desegregation came about, it was amusing that the Kennedy family was at one point say, well, you have a lot of property. Don't you think that perhaps you can donate some of that property up in Hyannisport to build affordable housing for those who can't afford property, to buy rental property or to get rental property on their own? And of course, they retreated into a corner and didn't say very much. The hypocrisy goes on to the environmental area. The Kennedys pushed the concept of offshore windmills rather than more practical forms of energy, such as gas lines. And yet, when one of the plans called for putting offshore windmills off Hyannisport, off the Kennedy property, they led the charge against it, saying it destroyed their scenic vista. So the hypocrisy that we've seen on the Democrat left is rather astounding, and the press, of course, has totally ignored it.
They have. But getting back to this resolution that Mr. Biggs introduced and that no one wants to cover. In fact, I just sent off a note to Newsmax and said, hey, you need to cover this. It's just astonishing that we're trying to figure out, and I'm still trying to figure out at this point, and I've said this since they were calling for Donald Trump's impeachment. I said, are you stupid? The president has to have committed 4 types of infractions to be impeached: bribery, theft, uh, or high crimes and misdemeanors. That's it. Those four things. And they can't prove it. Like they talk about people staying at the Trump Hotel. That's a drop in the bucket to what Joe Biden's talking about billions of dollars. He talks about $1 billion loan like it's a $10 loan. That's the people's money. Barack Obama was the same way. These Democrats and Republicans give away the people's money on whims. Why are we giving foreign aid to these southern these countries in Latin and South America when we need that money at home? Donald Trump wants to do stuff at home. We didn't care about this foreign aid stuff. He said, let these countries go out and help themselves. Let them build economies to take care of their own people. We give.
And Charles, I spent 20 years in state and local government, as I've stated many times, and I know what the needs of our own people are. And it's astounding when so many of the needs of our own people go unmet that politicians, particularly on the left, see fit to take those tax dollars that could do many things for us right here at home and decide to become the welfare agency of planet Earth. Absolutely astounding. There's no more convincing way that those politicians who are advocating open borders can say to their constituents here in the United States, we don't care about you, than by saying we have to have open borders.
Yeah. And they're very proud of it. That's the other thing, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely accurate.
They're very proud of this open. And just this week, yesterday, a judge ruled that he put an injunction against the president and the that 20-day rule. I forget what it's called. They call it something rule where they can only hold families for 20 days before they release them.
Right.
And so, but it's not going to hold up. They're going to stop this practice of federal judges placing national injunctions in place. It's absolutely bonkers when these judges.
Nor is there any justification in either black letter law, statutory law, or the United States Constitution. The separation of powers is there for a reason, and you can have a dictatorship by a judiciary the same way as you can have a dictatorship any other way. When judges exceed their authority, ignore the law, and execute judgments based on their own partisan political beliefs rather than relying on anything in the law or the Constitution, that becomes a sad day for our country. That becomes a day when the rule of law goes out the window. We look particularly, Charles, at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which in decision after decision hasn't even had the courtesy of referring to any law to really justify their opinion, and in fact pretty much run roughshod over the Constitution itself. When we talk, for example, about the president's travel ban from countries that where terrorism is prevalent, terrorism against the United States is prevalent, and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals attempted to override a prerogative clearly given to the President of the United States by law to put in their own partisan political beliefs, that's a sad day for justice in our country.
But again, they feel justified. Where were these people when black people were being hung from trees in the 60s? Where were they? They were nowhere to be found.
Well, where they were was doing the exact same thing they're doing now. It was their belief, their racist belief, that it was better for the country, better for humanity to keep the races separate. And if you had to do that by stringing up some people, well, that's just the way it is. There is no justification in the law for doing that, but it was their partisan, personal, political beliefs that it was the right thing to do. And that same philosophy is what you're seeing in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals today.
Yep. And so, Frank, here we are, 2019, and we're still fighting battles. And it's a major battle. It's a major battle for the future of this country. The reason I don't want people south of the border in this country is because they're brainwashed. It's because they're pussies. It's because they're worthless. It's because they will never assimilate and be Americans. They want to bring Guatemala to America and Mexico to America. I don't remember the Mexicans being very good at anything ever not even soccer. They've only won the World Cup like one time in the last 100 years or something.
Well, look, I'm not going to cast
I,
aspersions
I'm
against the whole
definitely
team.
gonna. I'm definitely. Listen. I'm casting this just like we talk about America and Americans in a general sense. I'm going to talk about Mexicans in a general sense. And when did this thing of Mexicans working harder than Americans become prevalent? The old stereotype of Mexicans were that they were lazy. They had siestas, and the whole 9 yards. I don't remember these people supposedly being, and if they are so damn energetic, be energetic in Mexico. And I'm not casting dispersions against Mexicans as I am against people who come to this country illegally. We have American Mexicans who are contributors to our country, who are American and Americana. And the first thing they will tell you is, we don't speak Spanish in my family. You get these other people who have their nationalistic agendas. And then, why can't you speak another language? No, the language that we need to speak is French, not some ghetto, kludged together Ebonics version of Spanish. It's, so we're dealing with a lot of things here culturally and intellectually that from that part of the world that will bring this country down, and that further dumbs this country down, because the people who are coming here are not the best. They're not the brightest, and the people who are in this mass migration the last 2 or 3 years, what they don't talk about, but you can certainly go online and Google this and do the research for yourself. They're so damn illiterate, they don't even understand Spanish. They can't write Spanish. They're so illiterate. So those are real issues that we're facing here, Frank, and I'm not going to take my foot off of pointing this out. The people aren't going to point this out in mainstream media because of advertising, like Fox News. They have Fox Latina. Well, we forget about Fox Latina. Fox Latina is making billions of dollars for Fox, man. Let's be clear. So they're not going to come down hard on illegal
I think
immigration.
the significant difference between the historic migrations of the past and the migrations that we've seen over the past several years, that migrants from the past came with the idea of becoming America, becoming Americans and assimilating into American culture. Yes, they brought many things that became part of American culture, from their foods and their religions and so forth. What you're seeing now from both immigrations from Latin America and immigrations from the Arabic countries is that rather than saying they want American become part of American culture, they want American culture to bow to their culture.
Right.
For example, there was a woman who said that if Americans don't stop eating pork, I want to go back to my own country. Well, goodbye. Take the next plane out, please. That's the real difference. When you see, for example, in California, protest marches by immigrants, and they're carrying the Mexican flag, well, that tells you a lot about what you need to know about the differences between the migrations of the past,
right,
and the migrations of the present.
And that's my point, Frank. And that's my very point, that these people, and that was the undercurrent of what I was saying, that these people are coming here. They don't intend to be Americans. They don't intend to assimilate. They're making demands on us, and they're not even citizens. Here in Chicago,
exactly right.
You had a group of illegal mothers say to the city council, I am not putting my child on a bus and busing them out of their community because the immigration may get them. And I'm quoting, because the immigration may get them. That's the way they talk, the immigration. So, what was the compromise? Rahm Emanuel closed 70 schools in the Black community and built new schools in the illegal immigrants community, and you can't even get the data. We have a place right here in Chicago where they're housing almost 1,000 of those unaccompanied minors, and they look great. They have great clothes. They go to great schools. You can look at the kids coming back and forth, and the Black kids in the neighborhood are ducking bullets. See, that's what goes on here in Chicago. That's what's going on around this damn country. And I'm tired of it. I am tired of these liberals. I am tired of these Black people who are so damn stupid. They have their head so far up these liberals behind that they're tasting their tonsils. I am worn out, Frank. I am worn out of fighting this battle of people who refuse to stand up and be Americans and stand up and demand from America what is rightfully theirs. Don't tell me about going to Africa. Don't call me an African American. I am not. I'm a
Great
black
point.
American.
Hey, Charles, I have to run.
Okay, bro.
It's been great, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Hey, man. Well, that was great information about Congressman Biggs. I love it.
And let it be shown that the Charles Butler show was one of the first to actually publicize it. Take care.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mr. Frank Venucio. Frank came on. His throat was really bothering him today, and he came on to spend some time with us. It was appreciate that, greatly appreciate it. Hey, look, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to talk a little bit about. Oh, we can talk a little bit about cancer when we come back, but right now we're going to talk about My Pillow and how you can get a good night's sleep with My Pillow.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for My Pillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. My Pillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable My Pillow is with its patented interlocking fill. My Pillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. My Pillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. My Pillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. My Pillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code REDSTATE. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code REDSTATE. Put sleepless nights behind you with My Pillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Kim Moline, co-owner of the Wingstop restaurants in Lansing and South Holland.
Hey, Tom, I've got to be honest. Although I was unhappy with our old payroll company, I was pretty apprehensive about transitioning to a new one. When it comes to payroll, delays and lost data are really unacceptable. But I'm happy to say your staff really made it easy for us, and the transition couldn't have been smoother. And now, as we consider taking advantage of some of the other services you offer, well, let's just say that next time we won't be so chicken.
Thanks, Kim. Just call me at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507. Or check us out at the web at precisionpayroll.com.
Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Reality Check with Charles Butler. Hey, I want to talk to you about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is cancer and being able to pay for cancer treatment for you and your family without going broke, without going into bankruptcy. We will. You can get a quote from my team by calling 877-659-6126. 877-659-6126. And the Green Ribbon Cancer Plan, giving you hope and help. They provide up to $250,000 of benefits for you, and cost you less than $1 a day. So call them, get a quote. Call our team, get a quote at 877-659-6126. How about that? We're gonna segue right now into the where is it? This breaking news is that the former Dallas police officer, Miss Geyer, was ruled guilty, got a guilty verdict on her. Unanimously, the court decided that she was guilty. And, I wish I could feel sorry for this lady, but I don't. She came in and she executed a guy. I mean, she killed this man sitting on his sofa eating ice cream. It said she thought that she feared for her life. How many times have we heard that? He was sitting on his sofa eating ice cream when she shot him. He hadn't stood up, hadn't turned around. He was sitting on his sofa eating ice cream when she shot him. And then she wouldn't render first aid. That's what got her into trouble. After she realized her mistake, she wouldn't go and even touch this person. She wouldn't render first aid. Now she's a trained professional. She's a police officer. We're not going to make any excuses because she's a woman. Okay, I don't play that because there are women out here doing this job and doing it very well and doing it by the book every day. Miss Geyer was convicted of murder. Wow. That's kind of heavy. But police officers are being held accountable for their actions these days, and rightfully so. They're not above the law. And we know that there's police malfeasance. We know that there's corruption. And it's not only in the New York police force, as Sepulco showed us, it's in Chicago, DC, LA, New York, any city. Especially small towns. We know about the small towns and the speed traps in small towns. It's nothing new. We just have to get serious about it. And we have to get serious about defending American citizens. I remember when I was stationed in Meridian, Mississippi, there weren't many highways that went directly to Meridian, major highways. So you had to take these little country roads. And what I would do on purpose to get through these little country hick towns, I wouldn't do the speed limit. I'd do 5 miles below the speed limit, always. So if it was a 25-mile posting, I'd do 20 or less. And it was really kind of comical because I remember going through this little town and the speed limit dropped from 45 to 35 to 25 to 20 in about a 200-yard span. And, if you're traveling that fast, think about it, 200 yards is nothing. So I'm steady, gearing down on the brakes, getting down. Maybe it was 300 yards, or maybe a quarter of a mile. I'm sorry, maybe a quarter of a mile. And so by the time you get to the end of, where the speed limit is 20, there's a cop sitting there, or 2, or 3, with their radars going. So I come through and I'm doing 20s, 25-mile-an-hour zone. 20-mile-an-hour zone. I'm doing 15, right? I slow down. I'm barely moving, man. 50. Think about it. Stop sometime and drive 15 mile an hour down the street and see how slow that is. Better yet, try driving 5 mile an hour, like at the Park City or Salt Lake City, Utah airport. They have a 5 mile an hour zone. It's just like walking damn near. Okay. So, because you can walk 5 miles in an hour. Let's be clear. That's only a 12-minute mile. So the police officer hits his lights, pull me over, right? I pull over. And I'm thinking to myself, I know damn well this cop ain't pulling me over. Pulls me over. Who? License and registration, sir. Pull out my license, registration. Where you going? Told him. He said, well, you're moving awfully slow. You're holding up traffic. I said, well, I didn't know there was a minimum speed limit, officer. Well, you're holding up traffic. You're obstructing traffic by driving so slow. I said, well, I said, what's the speed limit in that section? He said, it's 20 miles an hour. And I said, well, how fast was I going? He said, you were going about 14, 15 mile an hour when we clocked you. Well, what's wrong with that, officer? Well, you were obstructing traffic. Wait a minute. So there were people going faster than 15, obviously faster than 20, but you pulled me over because I was going too slow. Is that what I'm hearing? And he said, yes, exactly. You were obstructing traffic by driving so slow. And so I started laughing. I said, well, you can get a ticket for driving too slow, huh? I said, I don't see a minimum speed here anywhere. He said, you don't have to. I'm the law. So the guy wrote me a ticket for doing 15 in a 20 mile an hour zone. Serious as a heart attack, man. But see, that's what police do, and we're supposed to say, "Oh, well, because he has on a uniform, he's above reproach." Bullshit. I look at police officers and I expect the worst, and if I get the best, that better, that's great. But I don't go into this situation with glowing eyes like a little boy, like I used to, because my experience has been that police, if you're too familiar with police officers, they think you're a criminal if you're black. And I always tell you guys about the story, three cops on Michigan Avenue, walking down Michigan Avenue. It's a beautiful morning out, beautiful afternoon. And I see these three officers walking. I say, "Good morning, officers." And two of the guys say, "Good morning, sir." And this one asshole says to me, "Did I arrest you? Do I know you? Did I arrest you? Is that why you?" I said, "See, that's why people treat cops the way they do, because of cops like you. I mean, just a total a-hole. But I'm supposed to somehow take this from him because he's a cop. No, I'm a law-abiding citizen, tax-paying citizen. Whoa. Well, we got past that. But we have about 12 minutes left. If you'd like to call in, that number is 215-867-8255. Haven't heard from Joe or Pedro. I got to call Pedro down in Miami. Those are my guys. They'd call in from time to time and say hello. Let's see here. Senator Harris on Trump's suspension, on Trump's calls on Trump's Twitter account to be suspended. Oh, Senator Harris, she's too funny. Till she tells us about her relationship with Willie Brown, I don't want to hear from her. So a former Democrat senator is saying now what I've said for the last 2 weeks or week that they've been in Joe Biden's case. And that is, it's hard. It's going to be hard after this Ukrainian controversy, and especially with these photos showing Biden and his son golfing with a Ukrainian business guy. It's going to be hard. Now, why would Joe Biden say this stuff? That's what you have to, ask yourself. Why would Biden say this stuff?
This is Steve. He wants a car.
Given the fact that it's so easy to check. It's so easy to check what's going on. It's amazing. That's all I can say. It's amazing. And, people constantly try to make up stories. And I'm going, wait a minute. How can you talk about Joe Biden being the candidate when the guy is on tape quid pro quo? There's no, they're there. It's just plain quid pro quo. Amazing, isn't it? You have to love this stuff. You have to understand that the American people aren't dumb. They're not dumb at all. And the American people are tired of all of the flamboyance, all of the media hype, all of the media trying to condemn this president. And it's been pointed out that the Trump campaign is gaining money because of the lies that are being told on them by others. And it's just what it is. Lies. So we're going to hear from Senator Robert Cialino. He was a Democrat from Jersey, if I remember right. I think he was a Democrat from Jersey. I'm trying to play his clip, and it stopped for some reason. Hold on. But basically, come on. What he said was, come on. See, what they make you do is, and I didn't record this earlier, but what Torricelli is saying is that after we saw these pictures of Joe Biden, and I have the pictures right here for those of you who are online, these are...
With the help of Bluehost's powerful tools and expert advice.
These are the pictures that were taken by
Devin Archer is the guy who joined the board with
Far left,
time. He's on the far.
Yep. But this controversy is going to kill Biden. It's going to kill his his attempt to run. But I think that was by design. And I think Democrats did this by design because they don't want Joe Biden to run because they know Joe cannot beat Donald Trump. Can't beat Donald Trump. He'll get killed by Trump. Elizabeth Warren will get killed by Trump. But I think they're going to try to run Hillary. A buddy of mine said that today. And I believe him. I certainly believe him. He was very clear about, these about Hillary's paying people and positioning people so that she can run. So I'm looking at Joe and these pictures of Joe and Hunter. Oh man, this is too funny. Together, uh, giving this God, this photo is an exclusive photo obtained by Fox News and Tucker Carlson, and it showed Joe Biden, his son Hunter, golfing in the Hamptons with Devon Archer, who served on the board of the Ukrainian natural gas company, Bursama, and with Hunter. Okay. So they said earlier this month, Joe Biden told Fox News in Iowa that he never discussed his son's foreign business dealings. And to quote Joe, he said, "I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings," pointing the finger at President Trump. "I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He's violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him why he's on the phone with a foreign leader trying to intimidate a foreign leader. You should be looking at Trump." That's what Biden said. So Hunter Biden told the New Yorker, which is a magazine, that's out there. I like the New Yorker, by the way. It's always interesting. He says, how does he say it? Let's see. Previously, he and his father had spoken just once about his business dealings in the Ukraine. Whew, boy. And the plot thickens. And now, wow. And now he made a lie when he said he never spoke to his son, says Trump. Of course you spoke to your son. Wow, this is deep, man. This is deep. So here we go. Here we are at the apex. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Hunter Biden takes his dad down. Well, his dad took himself down because he bragged about it. He shouldn't have bragged about firing a Sokin. He'd been fine. But he bragged about it. Here in Chicago, our ultra liberal mayor Lightfoot, who has a husband, she has a husband, is saying that ICE will not, that the Chicago police will not support ICE. It's an official memo out. Somebody released that memo. It's horrible. And the police have said, if ICE agents call us for help, we will be there. We will not assist in arrests, but if they call us, we will definitely be there. We'll definitely respond to an officer in need, to an officer who needs help. Lightfoot said, don't go. Leave them on their own. They're the enemy. They're the devils. No, the devil is Lori Lightfoot and people like her who refuse to follow our laws and continues to call this a sanctuary city at the cost for what it costs our citizens in terms of illegals killing people and raping people and murdering people on an ongoing basis. Yep. Hey, folks, but before we go, I'd like to reiterate that the Pink Ribbon Cancer Plan, giving you hope and help, underwritten by Philadelphia American Life Insurance Company out of Houston, Texas. And a few things you should know is that cancer can happen to you. A woman alone, being a woman alone puts you at risk. And what other factors are increasing that risk? Action pays off. Regular doctor visits and mammograms could save your life. Don't give cancer time to spread to other parts of your body. Take action for your health. Breast cancer can be devastating physically, psychologically, and financially. You deserve a fighting chance. So give us a call. Give my team a call at 877 659 6126. 877 659 6126. See what they have to say, see what they have to offer. Cost you less than a dollar a day to provide $250,000 worth of cancer insurance to you and your family. Well, it's getting close to that time. Got about a half a minute left and or a minute and a half left. And we're going to segue out of here. But what I want you to do is I want you to look up Congressman Biggs' resolution, Andy Biggs' resolution. Andy Biggs is out of, where's he out of? Arizona. And pay attention to what's going on. Ask your rep how come he's not supporting this resolution or calling for this resolution to be read on the floor. Because if it is, it will certainly put Adam Schiff at a serious disadvantage because he lied. He lied on the president. He lied about what the president said. The president didn't say, I'm going to be here 7 times or 7 times you should do X, Y, Z. Didn't say it. But we know that. Hey, look, thanks again, like I said, for tuning in. You guys out here on Facebook and YouTube, let your friends know that we're here. Let your friends know. Get them, do a watch party for me. You guys open it up. Let's roll with it. So you can give us a call too at 215-867-8255. I usually don't like to take calls, but I will take them from you. We'll be on tomorrow, and we're going to have a great guest. We'll be talking about the impeachment process, what it really means to you and your people. Have a good one.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You see that black boy over there running scared. His old man in a bottle. He done quit.